What's up, YouTube, and welcome
to Neek Lives.
I just want to start off this video by saying thank you. Thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, for thumbing up, doing really anything. It really feels great. I love to see, maybe because I'm so small right now, I love to literally see individual views of my videos, but it really feels great because it means that other people like what I'm putting out there enough, or like the things that I like enough to actually go on YouTube, search it, find it, click on the video, and it just, I don't know, it feels good. It lets me know that maybe I'm helping out someone, and that really feels awesome. So without further ado, this is the G602 wireless gaming mouse, and if you're looking for a great gaming mouse, this just might be the mouse for you. Wait and see. So what is the G602? An FPS mouse? An MMO mouse? RTS? What? Well, honestly, I don't know. Let's take a look here. If you look, it has 6 side buttons. Very reminiscent of an MMO mouse. Most MMO mouses actually do have more that are dedicated to that, but not necessarily an FPS mouse. But then, it also has 2 nice DPS buttons right there, right next to the left click. Very reminiscent of an FPS mouse. So, if you're purely an MMO gamer, you might not want this, because many MMO mice actually have more buttons on the side, and you may want that. If you're purely an FPS gamer, you don't really need these buttons on the side. Maybe 1 or 2, but not 6. Definitely not 6. So, why would you want this? Well, honestly, if you're like most people, and you like to play many PC games, not just a particular type. I'll go from FPS game to an RTS game in one sitting. So, if you're like that, this really can be beneficial for you. Not too many people want to spend a ton of money on 2, 3 different mice and have to switch back and forth and get used to both. That's where this, I believe, comes in. Now on to the characteristics of the mouse itself. It really is quite light. It isn't the lightest or the heaviest by any means, but I would have to say it's more on the light side, which brings me to my first feature of this mouse. If you look on the bottom, I already have the back plate off. We have 2 AA batteries, no proprietary battery or battery pack. Fantastic. You might prefer the battery pack. Personally, I do not. So to me, that's fantastic. Now another benefit to this mouse, while it doesn't have weights, you actually can take one battery out and it will still work. I can kind of show you here. It still works. That's with that battery out. So, if you take a battery out, that can really affect the heft of this mouse. It can make it quite a bit lighter or quite a bit heavier. So, while it doesn't have weights, that really is a great feature for someone who thinks, oh, maybe it is a little bit too heavy with 2 in, or I'd really just much rather have longer battery life. So I'm going to stick both of them in. And the mention of battery life brings me to my next point. This mouse has unbelievable battery life. If you look right here, it has up to 250 hours in performance mode, or up to 1440 hours in endurance mode. Wow. Most gaming wireless mouse that I know have between 8 to 10 hours, and to be honest, it can be really frustrating. See, sometimes I like to game from my couch. I'm not a big fan of the wires personally, so having a wireless mouse only last 8 hours can be really frustrating. But this mouse, I've been using it for quite a while now, and I have yet to have to replace the stock batteries that came with it. These two Duracell. So that really is a great feature. Let's also just kind of go along this list. Let's keep looking here. It's rated at 20 million clicks and 250 kilometers in movement. That really is great. One thing that people might not be a big fan of, and I personally don't like all the focus on DPI, mostly because the average user doesn't use anywhere near 2500, much less way above it into the 8000, etc. DPS. So this is rated at 2500, or excuse me, DPI. This is rated at 2500 DPI, and like I said, there are some people who do need that massive amount of DPI and actually use it and play it in games, but I personally don't, and I would like to think that the average user probably doesn't use more than 1500 to 2000 DPI. So this should be fine for the average user, but of course, if you're the person that likes high DPI, you would know if you'd like this mouse or not, but either way, it doesn't have extremely high DPI like we've seen in the past. Okay, while we're talking about feet a little bit, when we were talking about the kilometers that this thing is rated at, we can, as you can see, there are some feet right here in the middle, and then it's got 4 on the outside. Personally, this works fine. Sometimes I do prefer a little bit more around the edges, but honestly, I really haven't had a problem with it sticking or anything like that. It seems to work great. And as far as, I guess I want to talk about the comfort a little bit. I really do love the way this feels. I love how it has the thumb rest right here. Sometimes I do find my thumb falling a little bit. But as far as the feel, it would work just fine for both grips, either claw. I tend to kind of have more of a claw grip, but it can be considered a little bit long for the claw grip. It is great for a palm grip. I have pretty big hands, and as you can see, it covers it pretty well. But it is comfortable. The only downside, and this I think goes back to if you're purely an FPS player, the only downside is that I really, maybe my thumb is too big, I'm not sure, but I really feel the bottom of all of these buttons, and it can make it easier to, get to them because you're feeling them constantly, but that's really my only complaint, is that I feel them when I'm moving, and it feels a little awkward. I mean, obviously you can get used to it, but, so yeah, onto the buttons. Like I said, we have 6 buttons here. We have your DPS, or DPI, I don't know why I keep saying that, DPI, right here, and they are G keys, so you can change them to whatever you'd like. Also, the center wheel, it feels really good. It's nice and firm. It doesn't have the free spinning wheel like some other Logitech, but if you're primarily gaming with it, you don't really need that. You want something more of a firm, so like for example whenever you're switching between weapons. It doesn't have the side to side. It only has the straight down button click, which, it not exactly a problem for me, but for others it might be. And then here's how you switch between your endurance mode. Here's endurance mode is blue, and then kind of like your saving mode is the green. So I guess the last thing that I can talk about are the actual clickers themselves. I'm not exactly sure which button type they're using. I really don't know, but it is fantastic. It's really fast, easy response, doesn't require a lot of pressure whatsoever, but at the same time, it's not so responsive that you accidentally press it. Sometimes, like maybe some of Razer's my sum. I've had a little bit of problem with that, like with the Mamba. Not too much, really. I mean, it rarely happens. Usually the faster click is better to have than something that's really hard to click, even if you accidentally click it ever so often. That's my personal preference. You know, a lot of this really does come down to personal preference. So, to be honest, if you like what you see, it really is a great mouse. I personally love it, and it's my daily driver. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to you and what you want. If you are just fine with swapping out mice so you can have the best possible mouse for each game that you play, do it. But if you play quite a bit of different types of games and you don't feel like getting used to a new mouse every single time you switch to another game, and you just want to spend $60, which is actually how much this was at Best Buy, $60 on a wireless mouse that's great, has great gaming capabilities, has great battery life, this mouse is for you. So once again, everyone, if you liked the video, please subscribe or like, comment, whatever you'd like to do. If you don't like the video, downvote it. That's completely fine. I like criticism. It helps me make better videos in the future. So anyway, thanks so much. Have a great day.